everybody, it's Angel from Halo Inspirations. We give you inspirations to help you spread beauty and joy through your quilting journey. Happy hump day. Whoop whoop. Happy Wednesday. Happy Fantabulous Scrappy Stars Wednesday. Yes, we have another video drop with a pattern on our blog on haloinspired.com. So what is this week's? It is the spool. Isn't she just darling? Love this spool. Absolutely. It's fun. It's an easier version of a spool, so I incorporated some of that to make it a little bit more less frustrating, right? So I also will tell you this was traditionally pieced at the smaller or the larger block size. The smaller block size is I did drop an FPP because again we got these half square triangles, and that just inside a variation of a 9 patch, so it really does make it a lot easier for you to get this done on a smaller size. So I also want to tell you, if you're looking for examples of what these blocks look like at a smaller size, check out Vicki Holloway of My Creative Corner3. She has a website, mycreativecorner3.com, an Instagram, Vicki Holloway, all one word, and she has a Facebook of My Creative Corner 3 with her group. And she is doing, oh my gosh, her blocks are so cute. You have to check them out. So I encourage you to go check out the smaller block version. She's doing awesome. And I appreciate it, Vicki. Thank you so much for doing this with me, because I'm doing the larger one, she's doing the smaller one, so you get to see both versions. But at any rate, let's go ahead and dive right in to this week's Fantabulous Scrappy Stars center block. Where are we at? I think it's 7. And it's the spool, so I'll see you in just a sec. The first thing I wanted to talk about was last week's and this week's blocks. So this was a friendship star that we did last week, and we had 4 half square triangles, and this week is a spool, and again we have 4 half square triangles. Now there's a multiple of ways that you can make a spool. This is the method that I chose. I wanted to talk about it because once you master that half square triangle, it is in a metric ton of patterns. So they're very, very useful to know how to do. And it's usually what I teach in a 102 class. So therefore, these are huge. All right, saying that, I am pulling a half square triangle from another block that we made for this week. And again, we need to make 4. And because we already did this last week, I'm just going to breeze through it, just in case we have somebody new who just found us and they've never made a half square triangle. You can get more detailed information in last week's video, and I'll put a little eye somewhere, where you can click on it, and that way you can get a little bit deeper in. But very simply, we're just going to breeze through it. Like I said, you're going to take your appropriate size printed fabric and background fabric. Okay, so I'm working on this guy right here, and you put them right sides together, pretty sides together. And by the way, if you don't need this, you can fast forward, right? Okay, then I'm simply going to take my 1/4 inch line, place it corner to corner on the printed side, take my favorite marking tool and draw a line. I'll turn this around and I'll do again the 1/4 inch line, corner to corner, and this time I can use the 1/2 inch drawn line that I had before to make sure that I'm nice and straight and pretty, and I'll draw another 1/4 inch line. Once those lines are drawn, I simply have stitched on the inside of the line. What do I mean by that? That means that I'm going to stitch on towards the center of the block, because I'm going to cut down the middle. So we always want to stitch on the side closest to which we're going to cut. It's called the sewer's method, and what that does is it allows you to compensate for any fabric or thread thickness that may take up some of that seam, and it gives you that opportunity to have a good size to trim down. If you stitch on the line, you have a potential of not getting a big enough block to get the size that you want. That's something I haven't said in a while, so we can test before we actually cut. You're going to take your fabric and flip it on over. Okay. Oh, so sorry. I've got those true grips on now, like I said. So now everything is going to slide. And I'm going to just make sure that my block is in fact going to be a little bigger of which the size I need. And then I know I'm good to go. If in fact it was too small, this is the time to rip those stitches with your friendly jack, right? And then reline, resew, whatever it is. Maybe you don't need to redraw the lines. This is done with a disappearing marking tool, so it may have disappeared by the time I go to measure it, and I'll need to redraw, restitch, and try it again. It's a lot easier to do it now than it is to do it later, okay? But mine is good. It's good to go. So and I have already stitched these, as you can see. So when I go to cut, this is the 2 at a time method. I personally, is there multiple methods? Absolutely. You could make 1 at a time. You can make 2 at a time, 4 at a time, 8 at a time, 16. There's plenty of methods. But because I'm working with fabric that I don't have just a multitude of, I want to make sure that I'm using my fabric to the best of its ability. And this is my preferred method to do that. Okay. So I'm going to line up on the drawn line, my 1/4 inch line. You could do this with scissors, no wrong or right way to do it. And I'm simply going to cut. I'm cutting sitting down, so it's not great. All right, and I will get 2 half square triangles, of which I will save one of them, right, for another project or another block. Right? I took this from another block. You could take from last week's and reuse them. You don't have to do this, okay? It is completely up to you where you get your half square triangles. You just need 4 of them. All right. Therefore, next we go into pressing, and I will tell you I've pressed them all going towards the printed. So I'll put this on the top. I will flip this over, and I will get her pressed. In the meantime, I will go ahead and square this one off for you just as another reminder, and then we'll start to assemble. So my ruler, you don't need a creative grid, although they work great. If your ruler has a diagonal line, it works perfect for squaring half square triangles. You do want something bigger than the size of which you're manipulating and what you want to go down to. But I take that line and I'm just going to simply line it up on the diagonal of my fabric, okay? And if you'll notice, I will have fabric that goes beyond the size that I want, because the first thing I'm going to do once I get it all lined up is I'm going to cut 2 sides to give me 2 straight edges. Okay, there we go, 2 straight edges. Let me make sure that's off. Okay, and that's all the waste we have, guys. I'm going to turn it so that diagonal is going the same direction, but my 2 straight edges are going to be along here, okay? And the reason for that is I'm going to simply line up that diagonal line again, and this time I'm even going to line up the square size that I want. That is going to be on the edge of the block. Now I will tell you, you want the lines of your, well, in my method, you want the lines of the ruler on the fabric, right on the edge, okay? And once you have that, you go ahead and cut the other 2 sides. It's kind of hard to do this in a video. I would put this on the edge of the table, or I would have a spinny mat to help me out. That's all the waste we have for these blocks. Isn't that lovely? Okay. Put this off. Now we're going to go ahead and start to assemble. Through the magic of video, I have my lovely fourth square squared off to the appropriate side, okay? And again, I'm going to use this as my guide. I have these squares also cut and these two patches of the background also cut, okay? And all we're simply going to do is put these exactly how the picture shows. I do love to use pictures to make sure that I get things in the correct place, because you can very easily get these all turned around. Okay, just making sure they were the correct direction. All right, we go here and we go here. Okay, so again, if you'll notice, we have another 9 patch. 9 patches all day long. And nothing needs to, we don't need to worry so much about which way these are going to go, because we don't have one half square triangle to the next. But what I will tell you, so I'm going to sew each row together just like so, and when I do that, I'm going to press away from the half square triangles. So I'm going to press in, out, in. That way everything is going to nest, and we're pressing away from those half square triangles. That way we can make sure they lay a little flatter. Okay, so I will simply take right sides together on each of the first 2 columns. Oh, I'm going to make sure I kind of flipped it around. Give us a 9/4 inch, and then I'll add the 3rd row to the 2nd, doing the same method. So when we are done with this, I'll come back at you. I'll see you in just a sec. So here we are. I've laid it out just like it shows in the picture. Trust me, I did have to revert to it. I had my half square triangles going in the wrong direction. So now I'm ready to take these rows and sew them to the 2nd row. So the 1st row will go to the 2nd, and the 3rd will go to the 2nd. And if you pressed away from the half square triangles and then towards the center on the 1st and 3rd row, and then away from the center on the middle row, then your seams will nest very nicely together. That just means that the seams will butt up next to each other very nicely. I do like to pin to the right of the seam, leaving enough room for the needle, and to the left of the seam. And I'll do the same thing over here, making sure that those seams are nested. They're not overlapping, and there's no gap. That one doesn't have enough room for my needle. All right, then I will simply pin the edges. You don't have to pin it all if you are so inclined. I am a pinner. I like things to stay where they are. At this point, I'll take it to the sewing machine and I will stitch that 1/4 inch seam. And now which way am I going to press? I'm going to press away from the center, away from the 2nd row, because there's nothing that I have to worry about it nesting to something else. So I'm free to press how I like. I tend to press away from the center if I can, to help spread any extra bulk and help this block lay a little flatter. Quilters are all about flat seams, flat blocks. We want them flat, super flat. So once this is done, I'll add this 3rd row to the 2nd and do the exact same thing, pressing away from the center. So let me get this done. I'll see you in just a sec. And here she is, our beautiful little spool. Isn't she cute? So now that your spool is finished, do not forget to stitch on your cornerstones and flying geese. To give yourself your finished block. Just like that. Isn't she pretty? Absolutely love this block. Super fun Not too difficult. Everything just kind of flows together. So I'll come back at you face to face. I just love this blog. I love her. I'll see you in just a sec. Isn't she so cute? I absolutely love this block. It was fun. It was a little more simple than another version. The other versions that I know of isn't that hard, but this just made it a lot easier, and it's so super cute. It's so super cute. Love it. So we will be on today at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Why? Because we're in Virginia for our live quilting and answers, live Q&A. Get it? With Mayhem on board to talk about the blog, allow you an opportunity to ask any questions or comments right there live. If you can't make it, you can always drop a comment down below and we will be sure to get back to you. Halo team is awesome. We've got Sherry who helps with all of those. Thank you, Sherry. We've got Leah. We've got Melvin. He's our new tech guy. We've got Mayhem. We've got myself. So we do get back to those comments, and we would love to hear from you. At any rate, 3 p.m. today, I'm going to see you there. I'll see you at 3. Until next time, may you all continue to be inspired, productive, ever so joyful, never stop believing, and never stop making your dreams in quilting come true. We love y'all. Happy quilting. Happy hump day. Whoop, whoop. We will see you all soon.